Jesus wanted to remind his disciples to pray and not to give up praying when things got tough. So he told them this story. Imagine a judge, a mean old man who doesn't care about people and doesn't even care about God. Now imagine a little old lady whose husband has died. She keeps going to see the grumpy judge and saying, "Make sure I'm treated fairly in court." To start with, the judge just ignores her. But when she just won't go away and keeps on coming to see him with the same request, eventually he gives in. "If I don't give her what she wants, I'll never get rid of her," he says. "Think about it," said Jesus. "If even a grumpy old judge helps a woman in need, how much more will God look after people he loves, every day and every night? Of course he will always help them. But when his kingdom comes, will he find anyone who really believes?" "Let me tell you another story," said Jesus. "Imagine two men going to the temple to pray. One of them is a Pharisee. The other is a tax collector. The Pharisee thinks he's wonderful and thanks God that he's not like that dreadful, slimy tax collector over there. Then he tells God all about the wonderful things he does for him every week." The disciples pictured the Pharisee in their minds. They knew plenty of people just like him. The tax collector thinks he'll never be good enough for God. He tells God how sorry he is for all that he's done wrong and begs God to forgive him. Who do you think pleased God? The tax collector, of course. If you make out that you're more important than everyone else, you'll soon learn that you're not. But if you're humble and honest, that's what God's looking for.
While the disciples were listening to Jesus, a crowd of people had gathered round them. People had brought their kids along because they wanted Jesus to pray for them. They were seriously noisy, crying, yelling, playing, running all around the place. Some of the disciples had been quietly telling these people to go away. Stop bothering Jesus. "Hey," Jesus shouted, "don't send them away. Let the children come to me. Don't tell them to go away. They're part of God's kingdom. In fact, there's so much to learn from them. It's hard to get into God's kingdom unless you're just like a child." As the children ran towards Jesus, one of the men in the crowd spoke up. "Jesus, you're so great. I really want to go to heaven. What do I have to do?" "Why do you say I'm great?" "Only God is great," Jesus answered the man. "You know God's rules, don't you? Follow those." "Oh, I've always followed God's rules, ever since I was a boy." "Well, there is one other thing," said Jesus. "You're a very rich man. You need to sell everything you have and give all your money away. Then you'll be rich in heaven. Then you can come and follow me." Oh, doesn't sound so simple, does it? The man's face fell. He didn't even want to think about giving all his money away, let alone all his super awesome stuff. It's so hard for a rich person to get into God's kingdom. In fact, it would be easier for a camel to squeeze through the eye of a needle, said Jesus. The crowd, murmuring, said, "Well, that's it then. How can anyone ever be saved? Camels are big and fat, and I couldn't even get one through the door, let alone the eye of a needle." Jesus turned to face them all and said, "There are so many things that God can do that people can't do." So Peter said to Jesus, "But Jesus, we've already left everything just to follow you." "Those who leave everything behind to follow me will be given good things by God, both now and in his kingdom to come."
Sell everything? That's a pretty big ask, isn't it? The thing is, Jesus wasn't asking the man to sell everything he had because he thought he shouldn't have any money. What he was actually saying was, there needs to be nothing more important in your life than loving God. That's why just following God's rules didn't cut it either. Following a set of rules doesn't mean that you love God, just that you're good at following rules. Jesus gathered the disciples around him. He wanted to talk to them on their own about something that they still didn't understand. So, we're on the way to Jerusalem. Everything that's been said about the Son of Man will happen when we get there. He'll be handed over, beaten up, made fun of, and eventually he'll be killed. But 3 days later he'll be back. The disciples stood there and stared at Jesus. What on earth was he on about? When they were near a town called Jericho, they saw a man sitting at the edge of the road, staring into space. They thought he hadn't noticed them at first, but then they realised he was blind. "What's going on?" he asked. "I could hear all you people." People nearby said to the man, "It's that Jesus man from Nazareth." "Jesus, help me! Jesus, Son of David, help me!" shouted the man. "Shh!" said the disciples. "Stop making such a racket." "Jesus, Jesus!" said the man. Jesus stopped and turned. "Bring that man to me." Some of the crowd helped the man up and began to lead him over to Jesus. "What do you want?" Jesus asked the man. "Lord, I want to see." And he could. Straight away the man could see. He couldn't believe his eyes. And he went with Jesus, thanking God, shouting at the top of his voice, "I can see!" Everyone who had seen what happened thanked God too. They were amazed.